Stop recording button. Double tap to activate.
Hello, friends. Hi, if you're new here, my name's May. If you're returning, welcome back. If you are returning, you probably know most of my videos are about knitting and crochet and yarn because that's my hobby. That's what I love to do. But you also probably know I'm visually impaired. So this will be a little redundant for you if you're returning, but I just want to give a brief intro to anybody who might be new here. I was born with a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia. That just means that my optic nerve stopped developing before I was born. So the cells in my eyes that see color, that see during the daytime, are not connected to my brain. So I have a very primitive vision system. I have a few night vision cells, so I kind of see what you see at night, but less. So shapes, shadows, movement. I don't drive. Well, a few days ago, maybe like 5 days ago, I made a video about an Amazon package. It said, come and play hide and seek with me while we look for an Amazon package on my property, because I live out on a rural property, like 5 acres, probably 3, 4, I don't know, a few miles from even a bus stop. And when I say rural, I mean if you saw that video and we took my white cane and we walked out the front porch, down the long driveway to the building where the package was, you go past that building, you come to a private road, and across that private road, the cows just moved back into their summer pasture, okay? Now I'm happy about the cows coming to their summer home. I am, because we live in an area where we get wildfires. So the cows are great because they graze down the grass, reduce our risk of wildfires. So I'm thrilled to have my cow neighbors back. I am. Cows make great neighbors. Just saying. So when I say rural, that's what I mean. And that video was about a package not being left at my door, that I had to go out there and look for it with my white cane, and that's not acceptable. So, but I'm not hating on delivery drivers at all. I love my delivery drivers. I am dependent on my delivery drivers. If you would have asked me 20 years ago if a non-driver could live out in the country, I would have probably said, no, not really. I mean, it's nice. I like it. I like being away from the city and the people, animals, all that. But I would have said no, probably not realistically. But now, thanks to the magic of the internet and the brilliance of Jeff Bezos, who started the Amazon with his brilliant idea of, hey, let's sell books out of my garage in Seattle, right? I'm able to live out here as a non-driver. Pretty cool. So I'm grateful for my delivery drivers. I need them. They bring me supplies and food, and life would be a lot more challenging. A lot more challenging for me if I didn't have them. So I hate to complain about delivery drivers. I do. That is not what I want to do. I don't like to complain about my drivers because I need them. I know that they work really hard. I know that driving is a stressful job, right? People talk about the commute to work and the chaos and the traffic and angry drivers and somebody cuts them off and, you know, rude drivers, but then you get to your office and you're in your office for 8 hours. Well, delivery drivers are in that traffic all day. They're dealing with angry drivers, and they're on a schedule, and they're finding new addresses, and they don't know if that house has a dog or not. So it's a hard job. I get it. So the last thing that I want to do is add more stress, make a complaint, maybe get them fired. I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody to lose their job because of me. So I never want to complain about my drivers. I try not to. But when I moved out here, definitely was one of the issues was, what about packages? How are you going to get things? So we contacted the post office because I live on a rural route. I do have a mailbox, but it is on the highway. It is on the corner between the highway and a ditch. And I don't think it's real safe for me to go out there with my white cane and look for it, because if I miss it, I could end up down in that ditch. I could completely overshoot it, end up walking way past it, walking around looking for it. I don't think I'm going to end up out in the road someplace too dangerous. I've got really good skills with my cane. I've been using a cane since I was 10, my white cane. And I can hear cars. I mean, we do have more electric cars here in Washington State, and they are harder to hear, but you can still hear their tires on pavement. You can. Electric cars, you can't really hear much of an engine sound. They're very quiet, but you can still hear tires on pavement. So I don't think I'm going to miss a car with my ears. But a distracted driver, an intoxicated driver could still swerve and run into me. So I don't really want to be out there looking for the mailbox. Not saying I don't walk around, but I just don't want to try to go through that battle. So when I moved out here, we contacted the post office, and they said, we'll do a form, and we'll give you a exemption, a request because of your disability. So under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I can make that request. That's an accommodation. And they said you should get a P.O. box in town for your regular everyday mail, and then we'll give you package service, rural route package service, and we'll make sure that your packages get delivered to your front door. And I was like, cool, we're set, we're good. And the post office is good about that. They know I'm visually impaired. They know to leave packages on the porch, and they have a regular route. So my postal people know me. We occasionally do get substitute drivers and weekend drivers and all that, but for the most part, my post office people know. So they know put packages on the porch. Really don't have problems with them. Well, for a while, UPS was working out great, but then UPS started slipping. They were leaving packages out there at that garage, and that happened a couple of times. And then finally they left one all the way out at the gate, the posts out there by that private road. I have to get my cane. I have to get assistance. I have to get a sighted person, somebody with more vision than I do, to go out there and look for my packages. So, I finally, after the third time, right, called UPS. Didn't want to do it, but I thought I gotta call UPS. This is not acceptable. So I went out there, called them, and said, hey, look, I'm visually impaired, I'm legally blind, I'm mostly blind. You gotta put that in your system for your drivers to know I have a disability, and I'm asking you to do this as an accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Leave my packages on the porch, okay? So that's really what the topic of this video is disability. Do you disclose it or not? And I'll be the first to tell you, you don't have to disclose that you have a disability. That's your choice. However, if you're asking for an accommodation, then you might need to give some details. And the Americans with Disabilities Act says a reasonable accommodation. So asking, hey, can you leave my packages on my front porch, I think is reasonable. There are some people who try to claim disability status at work, like, you can never fire me even if I stop showing up for 2 years, right? That's not really reasonable. So reasonable accommodations need to be reasonable, but that's a vague term. But I certainly think that asking, hey, packages on the front porch is a reasonable accommodation. So that's what I did with UPS, and they said, absolutely, we'll get that taken care of. They put it in their system. Every driver for UPS knows that it's in their system. And I've had really nothing but good service from UPS since then. I've had excellent UPS men. One of my regulars for a while knew I was visually impaired. He even offered to do grocery shopping for me. He said, hey, if there's ever a day when I'm bringing something to you, if you need something from town, if you can arrange to pay me, he said, I'll go in after work, after my route, get your shopping, bring it back to you. And I was so grateful. I mean, truly, that touched my heart so much. I just want people to know there are kind people in the world, truly kind people. How touching is that, right? And I did think about it. I considered it. But I know the shifts that those people work, the delivery drivers. I've had packages show up here at 8:30 at night in the winter time. It's cold, it's rainy, it's dark. They want to go home. And I thought, oh, bless that man. I'm not going to ask him to go to the store and get me something and then run it back out all the way out here. But I did thank him profusely. That was incredibly kind. And that just to this day, that was probably like 5 years ago, and to this day, that just touches me deeply. So know that there's wonderful, kind, thoughtful people in the world. And when his route changed, he even made a point of telling me. He said, hey, I've really enjoyed, being your UPS man. My route's changed. I'm not going to be your driver anymore. It's been wonderful. So he said it's in the system, so you shouldn't have any issues. And he was right. I don't have any issues now. I don't even know, I don't have that kind of a friendship relationship talking to my current UPS person, and that's totally fine. That's their job. They're in a hurry, right? So I've had great response from UPS. And I do love Amazon, but as Amazon has gotten bigger, they've done a lot more of their own deliveries and their contracting and their own fleet. And I'm excited about that. I think, it's not that I don't love UPS, but there's nothing wrong with competition. There's nothing wrong with Amazon saying, hey, we got more than enough business. We can totally get our own vans. And so they have a lot more drivers. They have their vans, and then they do even private contracting. I got people rolling up here, at 6 in the morning in their little cars, dropping packages off. So I'm excited that more people have the opportunity to work different jobs, pick up little shifts here and there. I think that's great. I think it's innovative, just like the mind of Jeff Bezos, who came up with selling books out of his garage, right? It's innovative to say, hey, I can do my own delivery service too. But that also means that not all my delivery people know me, and they don't know that I have a disability. So we went through the same thing again, right? Sometimes drivers get the package on the porch. Sometimes, well, as you saw in the video, it ends up way out there by the garage, and that's if I'm lucky. So that's happened more than once with these random Amazon drivers. So I called Amazon. And if you have a disability, if you don't know, Amazon has a whole division that's just, they have like a special ADA disability accessibility number where they have people there whose job it is to address disability complaints, disability accessibility concerns. If you don't know that, they do. So you can call them and ask them. I actually didn't look up the number, but I do have it in my phone. I actually have Amazon's ADA accessibility phone number that they have given to me because I've called them with issues. I'm a good customer. They know it. Right, I got Amazon Prime, Amazon Photos, Amazon Music, Amazon Prime Video. I got all of it. So I'm a good customer, and they know it. So they've given me their ADA number that deals with all my complaints and my issues and whatever. So after a few times of having their drivers not get it right, that's when I get this disability number, and they said, okay, what we're going to do is when you go into they said, we can do it for you, but we're going to show you how you can go into your delivery preferences, and you can basically leave a note, right, for the driver that says, leave it at the back door, leave it at the front door, leave it on the porch, leave it in the garage. And they said, we'll show you how to do this. And so mine says, leave at the front porch, at the front door. And that's the instructions for all my Amazon drivers. So, of course, they've been getting it right most of the time. But, there it was, out there on the road again. So I thought, well, am I going to call and complain? Because I really don't want to complain against that driver. But I thought, I'm going to let it go this time. But what I'm going to do, rather than call the first time that this happened, this has been a long time since that's happened. So I thought, I'm going to go in. When you get your little package now, you get your little email, and it says, was it great or it wasn't so great? And the majority of the time, it was great, because it was great, right? But occasionally, they get it wrong. And so I was not so great. And then they ask you, what about? What wasn't so great? So I was able to go into those instructions again. And this time I thought, well, do I want all these random drivers to know or not that I have a disability, that I'm visually impaired? And that's a really personal decision, right? Your home is your home. It's your castle. It's your privacy. It's your security. And so that's a tough decision that I'd struggled with, which was partially why when I talked to Amazon on the phone, I just said, hey, just put it on the front porch, put it at the front door. I didn't say, even though the person on the phone knew, I didn't say, let's put in there, resident is visually impaired, is disabled, is legally blind, whatever. Because, I thought, do I want all these random drivers to know that? I don't know. Boy, it was time. It was time. It was time. So I finally put that in the system. Resident is legally blind. Please leave all packages at the front door, front porch. And, well, since I don't drive, and that's where I do most of my shopping, I have had Amazon package delivery since then. And I just want to make this video to, number one, say thank you, Amazon. Thank you for having the opportunity to make it possible for a non-driver to live the way that I do. Thank you for having a place for me to leave that instruction. Thank you to your drivers. Really, seriously, shout out to delivery drivers who get it right. And so I want to say that to anybody who has a disability. You're going to have to make the decision or not, right? Do I want to disclose to these random drivers in my home that I have a disability? And you're going to have to choose that. And I finally said it's worth it for me to just tell them I'm legally blind. And so I can't be going out there with my white cane, playing hide and seek, tapping around on 5 acres, right? Looking for a package. So I made that decision, and you're going to have to make that. If you have a disability, if you're visually impaired, whatever, it's a decision you'll have to make. But for me, it's worth it right now. Will I change my mind at some time and edit that and take that out? I don't know. So far, good vibes from my drivers. I actually talked to the driver this time. When he came, I heard he actually pulled up, still at that garage out there. I heard the van. He was in the Amazon van. I heard him roll up out there, and I thought, oh my God, here we go again. I just gave him the instruction, and we're going to do this again because he didn't pull up to the house. But I also know why they might not want to bring their big delivery vans all the way up to the porch. I get it. That's cool. That's cool. If they don't want to drive all the way up here, that's totally fine. So I heard him, and I was waiting for him and to see what would happen. And he did. I heard it. He walked up onto the porch. I heard him, and I thanked him. First of all, I said, thank you so much for bringing that to the front door. And he said, oh, you're welcome. And then I asked him, I said, is there information in the system that says to bring it to the front door? And he said, yes, it says resident is legally blind. Please leave packages at the front porch, front door. And I said, yes, thank you so much. And he said, you're welcome. And he was very polite, and I was very polite. It was a very polite interaction. It was all good, no creepy, no weird, just good. He did his job, and I thanked him for it, and he was polite and happy, and all is well. And the Amazon delivery service again, Jeff Bezos, I still love you. And I so appreciate that you created a system that's working for me. So I put this out here because as somebody who's visually impaired, I have a lot of friends on Facebook who are, I'm not on Facebook that much anymore. Really don't enjoy it, but I still get on there every now and then. But I have a lot of friends on there still and that are on the visual impairment spectrum. Some of my friends have more sight than me, but they're still legally blind. Some of them have the night blindness, but still see good in the day. I have friends that just see nothing but light. I have friends that are totally blind. So I read the stories of their frustration with delivery services and packages and people not being able to find their package and packages left in random places, people tripping over their packages. I hear the stories. I read the stories. Definitely, I am not the only person with a visual impairment who's had issues with deliveries and where they're at and having to go hunt them down. So if you have visual impairment, or if you have a disability in general, a mobility issue where if they're leaving them downstairs someplace that you can't get there easily and carry it back and make it up the stairs and whatever, if you got any kind of disability issue, I just want to say you're going to have to make the decision on whether you disclose that or not. But you can specifically note that if you're comfortable with it, you can note that in there in your instructions for the drivers, and every driver who delivers for them will get that you have a disability, and this specifically is where you're asking them to leave your package. You can ask for that. So, and if you have to talk to them on the phone, you can say, hey, this is a reasonable accommodation that I'm asking for under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And every delivery service from the mail to the UPS to the Amazon has been super receptive about that. And when it's explained to the drivers, they've been nothing but kind and receptive. So I do love my delivery drivers. I do rely on them, not hating on them at all. I'm just asking you to do that, to do your job. So that's what this video is about. Reasonable accommodations, American with Disabilities Act, deliveries, all is well. Me, Jeff, we're on good terms again. There's still nothing but love. Okay? Alrighty. Well, if you were coming here because you want to talk about yarn or knitting or crocheting, sorry that was a disappointment for you, but this channel is about my life, right? It is about yarn, it's about knitting, it's about crocheting, but it's about creativity, it's about disability issues, it's about life.
Slated for deep sleep. These are apps you haven't used in a while. To save battery, they'll be put in deep sleep within the next 24 hours.
With a disability.
Updates or send notifications.
So, anyways, I think that's going to be the end of the video today, and I'm sure we'll get back to talking stitching tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Pause button. Stop recording button.
If you're blind or visually impaired, I attempted to enclose a picture at the end of the video of my wonderful cow neighbor. However, I'm my own photographer and videographer, so not really sure how that worked out. Anyways, you're looking at my latest knitting project. Okay, there's yarn. I couldn't help myself. There's some yarn. I am attempting maybe a blue baby sweater. We'll see. All right. Thanks for listening.